My biggest fantasy. Oh my God.
We hear it.
Oh, so embarrassing. Okay, so my biggest fantasy is to have a little.
Would it help if I close my eyes?
Yeah, just don't look at me right now. That's a big turn on to me, is the dichotomy of having someone who's actually like a really strong and muscular guy in real life depending on me. That's a huge turn on. What's up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Dream a Little, the podcast that's all about helping you feel confident about your ABDL side so that you can enjoy it with your significant other. I'm your host, Lo, and thank you so much for listening. What you just heard was a short clip of TK and I from our new weekly podcast, Dream a Little Bigger, and this week I'm just sharing my biggest fantasy with him. And it's really, really embarrassing. So if you want to hear my biggest fantasy and the rest of the bonus episode, head over to patreon.com/dreamalittle. Today, our special guest is Chris. Chris has found himself in a unique situation. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but the gist is that he was finally able to open up to his partner about ABDL, but he instantly regretted it because she just didn't get it. And in fact, she almost ended their relationship over it. But as time went on, she got curious about it, and she got so curious that she actually agreed to give it a try. So today we're going to be discussing how he was able to get his wife on board today, and most importantly, what are some of the mistakes that he made along the way that you should avoid yourself. Before we dive into the interview, I have a quick listener spotlight from Workout Daddy 1984. He says, "This is a wonderful podcast. I have struggled with my kink for as long as I can remember. Lo's podcast gave me the boost of courage I needed to start accepting myself and also opening up to my significant other, who is now my wife. It was a huge help serving as a guide on how to communicate with her. Thank you." No, thank you, workout guy. Sorry, I don't have your actual name, but this review meant so much to me. I'm really glad that you found this podcast helpful and it gave you the courage you needed to accept yourself and open up. Reading reviews like this really makes my day, so thank you. And I think courage and self-acceptance are really, really crucial before you open up about your ABDL side. So if you're struggling to accept your ABDL side and you're feeling just kind of down about it, you're not alone, and I want to help you. So head over to thelittlelelounge.com/130 to download my free audio training. It's brand new, and it's called How to Accept Your ABDL Side. It's a 20-minute audio training that's going to help you change the way you feel about ABDL and help you get past any shame you might be feeling so that you can learn how to love and accept your ABDL side. Again, you can download it for free at thelittlelelounge.com/130. Can't wait to see you there. All right, I won't make you wait any longer. Let's just get started. What's up, Chris? How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good, good. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
You said you were a listener, so now how's it feel to be on the other end?
Yeah, it's a little different, but hey, it's cool.
Yeah. Awesome. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you identify as within the ABDL community?
Yeah, totally. So I identify more as an AB, though I haven't really gotten a chance to switch too much, but I think I would probably be interested. But yeah, I have a pretty normal life, work a normal 9-to-5 job, married with kids, and I'm into pretty normal stuff, honestly, basketball and hang out with friends. So yeah, it's a little bit about me.
I think I'm a little bit of a nerd, but I love hearing people in the ABDL community, especially, just kind of talk about, how most of the time we are normal. I feel like on social media, everything is portrayed as like,
oh my gosh,
so
yes.
extreme, and people assume like you're diapered all the time and it's just
Right.
like you're constantly regressing. That's not even the case at all. So I love hearing that.
Yeah, for sure. I think the community can get a bad rap because of that sometimes. So yeah, I think I'm a pretty normal guy, but I don't know. My wife might think differently. So yeah.
Okay, so I'm assuming your wife knows then.
Yeah.
Okay, so how far into the relationship did you kind of start that conversation? Did you drop any hints beforehand?
Okay. So I don't think I did it the way that people should do it.
So we're learning what not to do here.
Yeah, exactly. Well, so I didn't bring it up in the best way. I didn't know how to explain it. I didn't really drop hints. I this has always been a huge, up until recently, insecurity of mine. Just living, feeling like you're just different, feeling like you're kind of an outsider, always looking in. So I never dropped hints. I never was brave enough to do that. But I told my wife right before we got married, actually, and it did not go well at all.
Are you talking
I
about
think
literally right before you got married? Like you're
no,
about to
not like
walk down the aisle and you're
no,
like,
no,
by the
no.
way, honey.
Right? No, not that. It wasn't that bad. Thank
Okay.
God. But no, it was probably about a week before we got married, though, and I felt like I owed it to share it with her, and it went terribly. So it was pretty bad.
Okay, so mistake number one. Would you say you waited a little bit too long? Or maybe you do it before you propose?
Gosh, yeah, we were pretty young though. There weren't, so when we got married and before, we didn't really have resources like you or some of the resources out there you can find. So for me, I don't even think I fully understood it. I just know, hey, I'm into what I'm into. But yeah, I would have done it sooner. I would have done it. I would have handled it in a different way with more confidence. I wish I would have, instead of making it sound like I was, I don't know, telling her I had cancer or something. So
Yeah.
yeah, it just wasn't received super well. That's the other thing, is she's very conservative. So like anything like this is just so foreign and new for her when you're talking about being into diapers or anything in that world. So it was just a shock for her all around.
Okay, so you say she's conservative. So
Hmm.
she's pretty vanilla then, right? I'm assuming
Yeah.
she doesn't have any kinks of her own.
No, and we talk about that. I really wish she did. I feel like
We
yeah,
all
I feel
do.
like
We all do.
yeah, I feel like it would make things a lot easier. But no, she has no kinks at all.
Okay, those are probably, I think those are the hardest people to open up to, because it's like, at least someone has skin in the game if they're like,
Hmm.
hey, let me tell you a little secret. And then you're like, okay, well, I'll tell you a little secret. So
Yeah.
that's a unique challenge right there. And I'm sure it made it so hard. Was she the first person that you ever told?
Uh, yep. So
Okay.
it was hard. It was so cringingly awkward. So
How did you start the conversation? You're like, hey, I know we're about to get married, but there's something you should know.
yeah, gosh, I'm not kidding. That's actually about what it was
Verbatim?
like. Yeah, it was, and I didn't make it sound like a good thing. And that's, looking back, I just didn't have the knowledge I do now. I don't have the confidence I didn't have the confidence I do now, but I really wish I would have come out confidently and say, hey, like, not, this isn't a big deal. We talk about it now as, I mean, we make a parallel, like, it's, for me, it's a part of who I am. I don't think it's who I am, but it's a part of me, and it's kind of like I have favorite colors, favorite tastes, and so this is just another part of me, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, it's just like a preference, and I feel like
Yeah.
people make it way bigger of a deal than it needs to be.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so the wedding went on. Everything continued as usual, right? And the conversation didn't go so well. So how did it end?
Yeah. So honestly, it ended with she was thinking about calling off the wedding.
Oh my gosh, are you serious?
Yeah, yeah, because it just scared her. It wasn't that she didn't love me or anything like that. I just think she looked at it as like, oh my gosh, like, this is something he needs to work through, like, this kind of like that. So she almost called off the wedding. There was a point where we were talking, and she felt like this must be a sign that, because that's the other thing, is with wedding planning, and you may know this, but with wedding planning, there's so much anxiety that goes around all of it too. I just think it just all added up, and it felt like a tipping point for her. But by the grace of God, she didn't cancel it. So we did get married, but then we just didn't even visit it for the first 5 years of our marriage, actually. So
5 years?
yeah, 5 years. It was rough.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So
Yeah.
I think that, that's the key point that you made right there, which is her saying, or her thinking that it was something that you needed to work through, which makes it
Right.
seem like it's a problem. So
Yes.
it sounds like, because, I think a lot of people do this, and I did this in my last relationship, you bring it up as if it is a problem.
I know.
And then she's like, okay, well, clearly you've got issues.
Yes,
And
exactly.
was she under the impression that this was something that would just go away?
Yeah, I think that's what she was hoping, wanting. Again,
I think
though,
we've all hoped for that too, at
yeah,
some
oh
point or
no,
another.
definitely. I've been there too. But I look at it as like I get it though. I really do. And like if I'm putting myself in her shoes, like you know, it's it doesn't make a lot of sense, and it is like you've talked about that. It's pretty silly. It's a silly thing, but but again, it's there, and it is what it is. But I get it. So I never I don't think I ever really resented her for it or was mad about it. But it was really lonely. I won't lie, especially just my whole life until about 2 years ago. Yeah, just going through life and feeling alone and being married, yet you don't feel like you can be completely yourself is a hard feeling. So
Yeah, it really is. It really, really is. So,
yeah.
okay, 5 years goes by and, well, I just had one question before we move on to that part, but
Mhm.
did it feel good at all, just the fact that she knew, even if she wasn't like on board with it, or did it make it worse that she didn't like it?
No, it made it worse.
Oh no.
I wish I could say yeah, like oh, I got it off my chest. No, I regretted it most of the way I did it, like I said. But I just I felt rejected. Is exactly how I felt.
Yes.
I felt like I opened up part of the most vulnerable part about me, and she turned her back. It's kind of what it felt like. Again, I have grace, and I get why it was hard. So,
And
and
it's especially
I didn't
hard.
bring it up well.
It's especially hard because I think one thing that probably was hurtful for her was that it took so long to
Yeah,
say something, and she felt like you were keeping a secret from her.
yeah, exactly. And so we talked about all that now. Yeah, that was hard for her. We've known each other for a really long time, and I think she felt like I think some trust was broken for her too, feeling like that I couldn't trust her to tell her. Now that being said, with the way it happened and the way it went, I think I had fairly good reason, to feel that way a little
Yeah,
bit. But again, who knows what would have happened if I would have brought it up differently? It could have gone completely better. I don't know.
yeah. I think it probably would have.
Well,
It sounds
probably.
like
Oh yeah.
an experience we all have to go through at some point or another,
Right.
especially, before there was kind of resources like you mentioned earlier about like how to do this in a way that will
Right.
give you the best results possible. Okay.
Yep.
So, did you reopen the conversation?
I didn't. She did.
Okay.
So yeah, it was actually really cool of her. So we were struggling quite a bit specifically in our sex life. It was so
Well,
boring.
yeah,
Like
she's
after,
vanilla and you guys have been together for so long and it's like,
yes,
yeah.
yeah, it just got so boring that we were talking about, hey, what can we do to, make things more interesting, more fun? And we were talking, and then she brought that up. She asked, well, hey, can we talk about the diaper thing? And I was like, I immediately shut it down, and I was like, no, I don't want to talk about that because I don't want it to go bad again. And she was, I think she was a lot more gentle about it that go around, and we talked some about it, and so she agreed. I think what helped is we talked through it so that I think she could understand it a little bit better, though I don't think you can completely understand it. I was able to kind of get out like, hey, I've liked this for as long as I've had consciousness, as long as young as I can remember. And so like this again, explaining it, I think you've talked about it, stereotypes that go with it, like, oh my gosh, does it have to do with kids? Like disarming some of those things I think really helped her.
Okay. So, it seems like something had changed her mind even before though if she brought it up on her own.
I don't know. Maybe she's never mentioned that. I really think that I think we probably had a foundational level of trust that we didn't have as much before when we were a lot younger. So I think that was there. But then B, um, I I honestly think she was getting so bored with our intimate life. I think that we were kind of at a place where we were willing to try anything. And at that point, we were talking about doing all sorts of stuff. So it felt like nothing was really off the table. So it kind of, for her, I think made sense to go down that road and just bring it up.
That's an interesting strategy I never thought about. Just, make sure you have really boring sex, and then your partner will want to bring it up. No,
yeah, exactly. Well, it worked for me, so maybe it'll work for you too. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Okay, so at first you're like, no, that was kind of traumatic, and I don't want to, open it. And then she was kind of like, no, it's safe here now to talk about,
Right.
and I'm open to it. Okay,
Yeah.
and then you kind of like you talk through it. I'm sure she had a lot of questions. And how did that feel? Just like getting that off your chest. Were you surprised?
Oh man, I was really surprised. But so that you asked me before if, hey, was I glad that I shared it with her? I wasn't the first time, but I was so just excited and felt free, and like just a weight had been lifted off me after we talked the second time, because at that point she said, hey, I'm okay with this. Like, let's have fun. Like, let's not make a big deal. And, and so, yeah, it felt like a whole new world just opened up that I've always pushed away and just ignored and pretended that didn't exist. And so it was super exciting. It was awesome.
That's so cool. I love that.
Yeah.
What's interesting though is you say you're more of like an AB, and
Yep.
I feel like there's this stigma within the community of people where like there are certain age players who are like, you should not sexualize adult babies, blah 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 blah, and all
Right.
these rules and stuff. So
Right.
I'm interested to know kind of like how you started incorporating that. Was it all sexual, or was it mostly like starting out innocent, non-sexual role playing, stuff like that?
Mm-hmm. No, it was pretty much all sexual. So our take on that kind of thing is our marriage is our marriage. And though we love seeking counsel and advice and that kind of thing, we 100% believe like, hey, this is our marriage. This is our lives. And so we're going to do this by the rules that we want to do it. So from the beginning, it was sexual. So I made a big mistake, though, with that. Like I mentioned to you that, a whole new world opened up. It did, except I think I just went way too fast, and then things started to get rocky with us a little bit. I think I just went too quick into everything to where I think it was scary for her. It was still new, and it's funny because if you're in the community and especially if this has been a part of you for your whole life, it's pretty normal. Like, I mean, you don't really think twice about it as much.
You're desensitized.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's how it was for me. But I was not sensitive to her in that. I think I did a pretty poor job of just jumping right in head first. And so I think that shook her up a little bit.
I totally get that. And I think it's a combination of a couple of things. At least for me, it was like, okay, wait, this might only happen once. What if they hate it? So like, I better try to do like all the things that I want to do in case it doesn't happen again. And and then it was like, you're just excited. You're like, finally. And then you don't really think about like, we see a picture of someone in a diaper, like an adult, and we're like, oh, okay, that's hot. Right. That's cool. And then like you show that to someone who's never seen it before, and you add on that they're vanilla, and that is shocking.
Yes,
it's just
I know.
Shocking. Okay, so what was this? What did you include? Like, how were you so extra?
Yeah, so like I mean, all the adult baby stuff that you could get, look at, So the most fun part for me, and this is what I actually have a big heart for people in our community that do this alone. I think the best experience is when you have someone that you can do this with. And so the where I really went overboard was wanting her to be involved. It finally felt like, oh man, I'm not alone. Oh, I have somebody to do this with me. So I always wanted her. It was almost obsessive, I think, where I wanted her to be involved. I wanted her to be excited about it. I wanted her to be into it, which really, it's not always realistic. And just like, there's things that she likes to do that I'll show interest in, I'm not always going to be just as excited. But I really think that I had a lot of identity attached to this, which I dealt with just a lot of, I would say, go as far as some depression in there, feeling like, okay, she doesn't like this. She wishes this didn't exist. She wants me to stop, like all those dark thoughts that I think a lot of people go through. So I just wanted her to be involved in everything and be excited. And I put so much pressure on her that I think it started breaking her. And so I would definitely go back and do that differently if I could.
Okay, so it sounds like you got a lot of items too, to
Yes.
like props and toys and things like that.
Yeah.
And did you like put it on immediately and just like you're in front of her and like full on?
Right. So let's see here. So she was awesome. So she diapered me the first time,
Wow.
and it was really great. It was way more. I was so nervous,
Oh
man.
my gosh, I know.
I was shaking, and it was really scary. But I think once we got past that, it was a lot better. But she was great about it. I think mostly because she saw how nervous I was.
Yeah.
That I think that she felt a little sorry for me, maybe. But so yeah, we pretty much jumped right in from the get go. And it wasn't so much of the quality of what we were doing. She was okay with that. It was the quantity. It was the frequency of it. I think I started to go overboard and just doing it all the time. Cause like, yeah, you're right. I felt like I was trying to fit, I like it was the last night I was going to be alive, like I'm trying to do everything, you know what I'm saying? And so, man, I went in so fast. It was crazy.
Okay, so if you could go back, it seems like you would probably lower the frequency a little bit.
Yes, the frequency. I would tell my younger self to slow down and find a balance and find a rhythm with it, and know that, yeah, that's the thing, is that because she's very vanilla and she's just a different kind of person than I am, she has her limits and her thresholds a little bit lower than mine. And so I think having recognition and social awareness with that, I think it would have been key. So I would have gone back and definitely changed the frequency.
So have you figured out since then what her limits are?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think it's ever going to be perfect, because at the end of the day, I'll like, I can do it to an unhealthy level for sure, but I would do it all the time. I really would. We do it typically every few days. I think what we've really keyed in on is being able to read each other a little bit better. She knows when my stress levels are higher that, hey, it's probably a good idea that I should be diapered tonight. Like, that actually happened last night. I was really stressed out, and so she's really gracious with that kind of thing. And there's times when I think the kids are driving her crazy. She's had a long, stressful day, and I don't think she'd be up for for it tonight, and that's okay. I think it's just being okay with that is a hard place to get, but it's a healthy place to be.
I love that, and I think it's usually trial and error whenever you're getting started, and I
Right.
do agree with you. It's different. It's like you guys are total opposites of what you need, and just being in tune with that is so great.
Absolutely.
It seems like you guys have found a balance, and you're making it work.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'll be honest. I mean, and we talked about this not too long ago. There's still a lot that we haven't done that I would love to do, but I'm just, at the end of the day, I love my wife more than I love this, and so I would every day choose her if I had to, and that's what I was actually. That's kind of the perspective I had the first however many years of marriage. That's kind of what I did. However, that being said, there are definitely things that we've talked about, maybe exploring a little bit more of my little side. But I mean, it honestly, even for me, it's kind of scary to figure out and explore. Like, it's all new. Anything new can be scary.
Yeah, absolutely. One quick question, because I mean, I could keep talking to you forever, but
Yeah.
so when you were like about to start role playing, and even now, like, have you shown her like other people's ABGL content online to kind of like give her an idea of what it is, or are you just like actually explaining it through conversation?
Oh man, good. That's a good question. I have a few times, but most of the time, I like to be her filter. Here's the
okay,
thing.
I get
Here's
it.
the thing is, like, if she went out there and Googled this,
Oh,
like, I would
God.
just be mortified at what that might do to her. And
I
so
am
I like to
mortified
be
when I
her.
do it myself.
Yeah,
so-
no, me too, me too. I like to be her filter and her safeguard a little bit. And so, like, if I come across something that I know that wouldn't be a big deal for her because I know her well enough, then hey, check this out. Like this kind of cool. This is something I'd be into. Or I'll just explain it myself, just to protect her brain, if you will, from
Yeah.
the full on world of ABDL. And so it's again like she's just a different creature with that kind of thing. It's not. I'm just more desensitized to it.
Now, how specific do you get when you're explaining things?
I'll be honest. I mean, not entirely too specific. It's still to this day somewhat awkward to talk about.
Trust me, I know.
Yeah, right. It still is just kind of awkward, and I don't know why that is. I mean, we've been married as long as we have, and we know each other in and out. I just don't. I don't know what it is. It's hard to talk about and explain things, and so sometimes I don't. Sometimes like there's things that I want to try I haven't even really told her about because I don't even know if I'm there yet.
Oh,
Honestly.
I know. I think some things also seem like, oh, it'd be really fun, and then you're worried that you'll try them and it'll be just awkward or not what you were
Yes,
expecting. It's just better left in your head.
I know. That's so true.
I think that's healthy. And if you guys are married, you're going to be together forever. You got plenty of
Yep.
time to explore and keep things fresh.
Oh yeah, and that's the other thing. It's just when you have kids, everything changes a little bit too.
Oh, yeah, I bet.
Oh my gosh, I have stories. Yeah, you just have to be really careful.
Oh,
That's
no.
for
Did you
sure.
almost get caught?
Oh no, I have.
Oh, no. Are you serious?
Yeah, luckily my daughter's young enough that I don't I don't I don't think she knows
Yeah.
exactly. Either A remembers or B knows.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like that's happened a couple times, and like I have one of my drawers, I have diapers in it, and she's opened it and be like, oh, diapers, and I like have an instant freak out, but then I remember like for her I don't it's an innocent thing, so I try not to freak out, but I try and set those boundaries. So once you have kids, man, you just got to be so careful with it.
Get some locks.
Yes. Oh my gosh, seriously, it's so
Get a
true.
safe. Just lock it all up.
I know. Yeah, that's really what I want to do.
That's what
So,
I do with my roommates because you can never be too careful, even though they already know now. But whatever.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's at the end of the day, and that's what can drive me crazy sometimes about the ABDL community is that it still is a fairly private thing, and it's and I love content out there, and some of it I do. But for us, it really is. It's a private thing for us, and it's not something I want the whole world to know about, and I'm okay with that. So yeah,
It's really just for you and that special person in your life.
yeah.
I feel like.
I like it that way. Yeah, it really is. I'm okay with that.
Me too, Chris. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I had so much fun talking to you and get to know you. And I think that people are really going to learn a lot from some of the mistakes that you've made. I think it's so important to kind of share them, So
Absolutely.
it was all worth it just to come on the show.
Oh,
I'm
for
just
sure.
kidding.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate the time.
Yeah, of course. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye.